In the previous video, we talked about this free-form input. So for example, let me define lowercase cph to be, and now I'm going to hold down Control and hit the equals sign. Okay, so total on this line, I hit the equals sign twice. And now I'm going to say Copenhagen, Denmark. Now I'm going to click outside of this cell, and I'm going to evaluate with Shift plus return. And let's see how this Copenhagen is treated by Mathematica. So in the last video, I said let's use this full form function, and that works. But I realized after the video that there's a more user-friendly version of that function that I think is better, I think is better in many cases. So let me show you that other function. It's called InputForm. And so here they look very similar. The only difference is that this triple right here, it's being described with this list head out front, whereas here it's being described with this symbol of these curly braces. So that might seem like a very minor difference. Let me show you an example where there's a bigger difference. So let me define a to be, let's say, x to the 2/3. Okay, and let's see what the input form is to this. Input form is the one that I'm saying is more user-friendly. Hey, input form, it's exactly what we started with. Whereas if I do full form, okay, I get something that's more complicated. So it's definitely easier for us to look at this and understand it than to look at this. Okay, how you're supposed to think about this is rational 2, 3. That's describing this fraction, and then power x comma whatever is describing x raised to the power. But it's definitely easier with the syntax like already compiled for us, like here. Let me show you one more example of how complicated both of these things can be. So let me do, how about g for graph equals plot x squared for x from 1 to 3. And let's do full form of this. And why would we want to assign a variable to a graph like this? Well, maybe one reason is maybe we want to put it inside the show command to show multiple graphs at once. That would be one reason. And so let's see what the full form is of this g. So super complicated. Okay, this is all the full form of that graph, that very simple plot. What about input form? Okay, it's, I would say, equally complicated. So I don't know of any instances where we will need full form rather than input form. So I think, as far as I know, for us, input form is, it's often going to be very similar. Like up here, it's very similar. But I don't think input form will ever be worse than full form. So I'd say get in the habit of using this input form function.